and we all want some great time today and a day of relaxation, and perhaps we all got it too. But not everyone has such days, and we at Mirror Now made it a point that we raise this issue today. I want to start the show today with a shocking data point. Nearly 55% children in India experience some or the other form of abuse. And more surprisingly, out of all child abuse cases registered in 2022, over 40% are sexual abuse. In fact, 1 out of every 2 children endured sexual abuse before turning 18. Why am I telling you all this today? Because a 14-year-old boy has murdered his 28-year-old tutor in Southeast Delhi's Jamia Nagar after the tutor sexually assaulted him multiple times. He used a sharp object to murder the man in act of revenge and stabbed him in the neck. Now, the minor has alleged that the tutor not only sexually assaulted him at several occasions, but he also filmed it to threaten him. The minor has been detained, and law and justice, of course, will take its own due course. But the horrific crime has once again put the spotlight on the rising sexual crimes against children, not only in the national capital, Delhi, but across the country. The child knew the perpetrator in this case. His parents knew the perpetrator. They trusted him with their child for imparting education. Who would do no harm to him, as we all think about tutors? But that clearly did not happen. India, remember, is home to about 430 million children. And no child should have to go through this kind of a nightmare. This case should serve as our wake-up call, as a cautionary tale. And before I go to my guests this evening, I'd like to put out the child helpline number as well for help in such a case. 1098. That is the number where you can call if you have been a victim, if you have been a survivor of this kind of a sexual abuse, if you know somebody who has gone through this kind of an abuse. Other numbers you can reach out to are helpline numbers of Bachpan Bachao Andolan and National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, which we will keep flashing throughout this show. You can also file an online complaint at the POCSO e-box portal. But more importantly, reach out to someone who you think is close to you, like a parent or a guardian, a teacher, or any elderly you can trust. Let me take this across to my guests this evening. I'm joined by Nirmal Kaur, former IPS officer, Anant Kumar Asthana, child rights lawyer, and Uma Subramanian, co-founder and director of Rati Foundation, also joins us. Rati Foundation works on the issue of protecting children, women, and other marginalized genders from sexual violence. Welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Uma, first to you. This is an extremely horrific crime, but unfortunately, like I said earlier, this is nothing new. We have seen such cases earlier, and what's terrifying and something that gives us goosebumps is the fact that the accused is always somebody who's known to the victim, to the survivor. And in this case too, the child knew the tutor, the parents entrusted him with imparting education. They thought they can leave their child with the tutor, but clearly that hasn't happened.
Absolutely. I think you mentioned that 55% children are sexually abused in this country. The data is outdated. And if we were to conduct a study right now, we don't know how many more such cases are going to come to light. It's unfortunate, as you said, but it is also a known fact for people who work in the sector and otherwise, is that almost 50%, more than 50% of the abusers are people who are known to children, and I also think that this case is extremely, it's saddening also to think of what would this child have gone through in terms of absolute helplessness, absolute hopelessness, and the aggravated trauma that this child went through because of the fact that there is a video that is involved. And this again we see as an emerging trend and pattern in many cases of sexual abuse of children. We run a trust line which is for online abuse of children, and many victims who call us, the anxiety, the stress is extremely high because the accused is in possession, alleged accused is in possession of the actual video. And the threat that this video could be viral and the parents could see it and the repercussions. So already there is a lot of stigma, there is a lot of shame, there is a lot of, sense of guilt that victims go through when it comes to reporting offenses. This is when you add the angle of actual evidence, CSAM content that's being created, the crime scene being captured, and then the threat of being this being leaked. I only think this aggravates the situation for this child, and one cannot imagine what this child must have gone through, the hopelessness and the helplessness.
Yeah, yeah. And, Uma, you said that 55% is perhaps an outdated number. And I perhaps, I can't shudder to think that during the COVID years, this number might have increased and those cases have gone unreported during the pandemic years. So clearly, that also is a very, very scary point. But coming to you, Anant Kumar Asthana, you're a child rights lawyer. Do you see, when children and parents come to you in molestation, in sexual abuse cases, do you see, that lack of communication between the parents and the child within the family? There is lack of transparency in talking about such cases. And then how do you go about such cases? What is the first step that the victim and his or her family must take?
Well, in the cases of this nature where on the both sides we have male, right? The boy who is apparently the perpetrator in this case is a male, and the one who has committed the offense, the teacher, both are male. What happens in most of these cases is when the parents come seeking help, they are very angry with the children for being party to this. So a lot of shame, a lot of shaming of the children, particularly male child. It's the biggest challenge because every blame is on the male child. And I can imagine why it is so difficult for male children to open up. In this case, if I have to believe that there was a 2-month-long time that this child was going through this abuse by the tutor, I'm sure a large part of why this boy could not share it with anybody had to do with the shame which comes with him being a male child and being abused by a teacher. Had it been a female, maybe reporting would have been quicker. In this case, either the boy could not collect the courage to tell anybody that he is being abused. A lot has to do with the culture of masculinity which is built in schools. The boy was going to school, he couldn't tell it to teachers, he couldn't tell it to his peers. This is concerning. And as Uma pointed out, and you also pointed out, it's way beyond the realm of law and police. It has to do with our education, the kind of programs which have to be locally available. In this community, the area from where the incident has come, it's a highly dense population area. And calling a helpline, I don't think anybody can share such an intimate problem on a helpline. Something very locally has to be available, maybe in the schools or the hospitals, where there is a person-to-person contact.
All right. On that note, I'm going to wrap this up. Uma Subramanian, Anand Kumar, and Nirmal Kaurji, thank you very much for joining us this evening and sharing your perspective on this horrific crime that has taken place in the national capital. And we all need to be more sensitized, be more aware of what's happening around us, and report it to the concerned authorities as soon as possible. With that, we're heading into a short break. News and updates will continue on Mirror now. Stay tuned.